Another month has passed us by. We've made it to March. That means it's time to stop and rank every new movie and TV season that I watched in February, from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section. Let me know your ranking of the February new movies and TV seasons that you watched. My list is not the right list, it's just my list, and I would love to see yours. And let's get started. In last place, The Strangers Chapter 3. This trilogy of Strangers movies just feels completely ill-conceived from top to bottom, where they kind of had this idea of what if you continued the first movie and then they kept following the same person and she survived and we learned more about the strangers. And maybe there's some sort of idea in there that could have worked back 15 years ago had they originally done that. But in this form, it just feels so creatively bankrupt and empty, where the first movie is just a rehash of the original film with nothing new added to the table. And then parts 2 and 3 feel like they completely misunderstood what made the strangers interesting in the first place. And so now all of a sudden we're diving into the backstory and learning about the childhood of the strangers, which the whole point is that we don't know anything about them. They don't have a motivation. It's just people were there, therefore they died. All leading to chapter 3, where it does like this bizarro Stockholm syndrome story. Nothing felt earned, nothing made sense, and this just was not the right place to take this franchise. 8, The Whistle. I saw this movie actually back in September at Fantastic Fest. It was the closing night movie, so there was a little bit of excitement, like, oh, we're gonna end on a high note? Like in years past, they did a double feature of Knives Out and Parasite as the closing night in 2019. This year we closed out with The Whistle, a completely generic movie about a doodad that when you screw around with it, you have so much time until it kills you with some sort of gimmick. It's just another one of these movies. You've seen this movie done before, but with better kills, better characters, better lore, better everything. I will give this movie, it has one fantastic kill, another one that's pretty good, and the mechanism by which the whistle kills you is kind of interesting when they visualize it in these 2 kills, but the whole rest of the movie, it's just so generic, and we've seen this movie so many times before. 7, Scream 7. It breaks my heart to have a Scream movie this low on this list. The original Scream is my favorite horror movie of all time. The Scream franchise I find to be, or up until this point in time, would say was one of the most consistent horror franchises out there, where the lows aren't that low. They're all entirely watchable. And I suppose that is still true. But this to me just felt like a movie running on empty. There's well documented, this was not plan A. This wasn't even plan B. This is like plan C. And they just did the desperation play, which is, let's bring back Nev. Let's bring back Kevin Williamson, let's bring back Matthew Lillard, have cameos from other people as well. That's the desperation play. And when you build your movie around, who can we bring back? That's not a great place to build a story out of. And so you get this movie that's torn between trying to pander through the marketing of who's coming back, as well as do its own thing. By the time you get to the end and it does the final reveals, to me, it ruined the movie. It undid everything. The whole movie just felt off to me. And I think some of that goes back to the fact that Kevin Williamson is an iconic writer, not an iconic director. And they stunt cast him as a director, basically. And so you get a movie that just never quite feels right. It never finds its right groove. There's some things in here I really enjoyed, seeing Sydney at different phases of life, some of the kills, but the movie overall really disappointed me. Today's video is brought to you by Factor. It's the busy time of the year. YouTube is constantly keeping me busy. I've got 3 kids. They're all in clubs and activities. It's tough to find time to cook healthy, delicious meals. Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs, so you eat well without the planning or the cooking. Factor has meals that match your goals and schedule, whether that's healthier eating, calorie management, or the one I love, more protein. They have quality, functional ingredients including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. Just got back from the gym. We've got queso fundido and ground beef and cauliflower rice, all with over 40 grams of protein. They have 100 rotating weekly meals to keep things fresh and delicious through winter. Options include high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean diet, GLP-1 support, and ready to eat salads. And the one I'm excited about, the new Muscle Pro collection, which supports strength and recovery. Meals are delivered right to your front door, always fresh, never frozen, ready to eat in 2 minutes, no prep, no stress. I've been using Factor for years, and you should too. Head to factormeals.com/SeanChandler50 off and use code SeanChandler50 off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only, varies by plan, one free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active. Next up, Cold Storage. This is a new movie from a screenplay from David Koepp, the writer of the first 2 Jurassic Park movies, Mission Impossible, Spider-Man. He has some incredible credits. And this was an original spec script that he wrote, I believe, based off something else that he'd written. And it was frustrating because it's a movie that felt like it had all the right parts, kind of an icky creature feature, fun cast, the tone was right. It just didn't have enough gas in the tank. Like, I don't know if that was a budget thing, that they needed more money to be able to really deliver on everything. And instead, it just feels like we take a really long time setting everything up and it kicks into high gear when there's about 15 minutes left. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but like it always felt like I liked the vibe more than it actually was making me necessarily laugh out loud. And the action is very much loaded towards the back half of the movie. The rest of it is a lot of people like just walking around the storage unit or driving. And so it was almost a movie I liked a lot more. It just needed more juice. In 5th place, Wuthering Heights. And to be perfectly clear, I have not read Wuthering Heights. I had no prior knowledge. All I had seen was a couple trailers for the movie and went in. So this is not me evaluating it based off how faithful of an adaptation it is. This is just me went on a date night with my wife to go see it and giving my thoughts on it. And for me, it was a movie that felt very confused in what it was trying to be. It looks gorgeous. At times, it can be engrossing. It always held my attention. I was interested in all of it, but it was torn between trying to be this romance while at the same time presenting incredibly toxic characters in a toxic codependent relationship. And, you know, from what I'm gathering in things in the comment section, the book makes it pretty clear these people do not belong together, and this is not a romance, but they adapted it in a fashion that they released it on Valentine's Day. They sold it as the steamy romance, and there's all this stuff where they're building on the sexual tension. Will they, won't they? And they, at the beginning, make it seem like these two people probably should be together, but there's complications that pull them apart. So we're watching this modern day, like, or this different version of something like The Notebook, but it's not that. It's two incredibly broken people from their traumatic childhood that never grow up, and they just have this stunted connection to each other. And so it's not actually romantic when you see just how horribly broken they truly are. And the final resolution at the end felt kind of too random. Like the ultimate culmination was something that had nothing doing with anything else. It just kind of happens. So the final note that it ends on, I felt like it was pretty unsatisfying. But it's like there's so much in here that's really well done, very captivating, but also, I think, fundamentally broken in some of what it was trying to do. In 4th place, The Bluff. This is an Amazon Prime original film starring Priyanka Chopra and Karl Urban. And essentially, it is a mid-size pirate movie. where it starts off big pirate ship, pirates invade a boat and takes them off on this adventure. And at its core, it's a classic story of the person that used to have the criminal past. They've left that life. They've formed something new. They have a family over here. And then they're pulled back into that world. As a pirate movie, it's awfully self-contained. It's not a big, sweeping, globe-trotting pirate adventure. It's essentially a home invasion film, except to the size of a village. It's not just their home, it is their village. But it's not that much bigger than a home invasion film with this idea of pirates showing up to try and get information from her. The two leads and the genre do all the heavy lifting. The plot, the story, familiar territory. It is a lot of fun to see that story template with a pirate skin on top of it. And do I love to see Karl Urban as a ruthless pirate? Yeah. Is it fun to watch Priyanka Chopra kill a bunch of dudes? Yeah. So there's a lot of fun to be had here. I don't think they got the tone quite right. I think it takes itself a little bit too seriously, and had it kind of leaned into the fun of a pirate movie a little bit more, it would have flowed a little better. Because it's like ultra violent. There's like people exploding when they're shot with a cannon and stuff that feels like we're going for this kind of fun over the top vibe, but then it plays it a little too seriously. So I think you could have balanced that out a little bit. It's certainly a movie that you can see that it was done on a budget, and I'm pretty sure they used the volume for so many of the sequences in it that makes it feel even more claustrophobic than it already was. But at the same time, I'm okay with those sorts of limitations. Like, if that's the compromise we have to have in order to have mid-budget pirate movies, I can live with that. And so for me, like, this was a fun weekend streaming movie. Like, ones like this, I'm okay with. This is more of this that, like, you know, limited budget, but we're doing a fun genre with actors I like seeing do this sort of stuff. In third, Goat. This is the latest film from Sony Animation, and the title is a little bit of a play on words, where it is a goat trying to be the GOAT, the greatest of all time, while competing against the GOAT, the greatest of all time, in a sport that is essentially the Super Smash Bros. Version of basketball. In fact, the people at Nintendo probably should watch GOAT and go, all right, now we know what to do for the next Super Smash spin-off game or whatever. But these days, I feel like Sony Animation is really on a roll. They did Mitchell's vs. the Machines, which I love. The Spider-Verse movies, which are awesome. Last year, they did K-pop Demon Hunters, and then this year they did GOAT. Of these movies, I mean, I don't think GOAT is as good as those other movies, but it's still like a really enjoyable family movie. It borrows the plot structure template of things like Major League, as well as Ted Lasso, the idea of this kind of jaded, for some reason, always female owner of a team that's cynical, hires someone for nefarious reasons, and it turns out that person they hired is exactly what the team needed to turn things around. So another thing I liked about it is the way that it used watercolor to create depth of field. Like in shots, in live action, when they show like a close-up of a person, the background is out of focus and they're nice and sharp. It's called depth of field. And so when you do animation, obviously the camera doesn't naturally do that. So a lot of times in animation, they use tricks to kind of copy the techniques of live action films to match the style. What they did here is for those out of focus backgrounds, even like right now how my hand is out of focus and my background is out of focus and I'm sharp, that's depth of field. Well, they would do that with watercolor. And so like my hand would be like watercolor, the background would be watercolor, and then you'd have a different animation style for the character that's in focus. I thought that was so interesting and a way to do something that's true to animation, unique to animation, but also doing something that is like a technique of live action, just very innovative, interesting stuff. Our runner-up, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. One of the things I'm playing around with this year on my monthly rankings is throwing in the full seasons of television that I watched into the rankings just to give me an opportunity to talk about more things. So we're going to talk about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the latest Game of Thrones spinoff, one that I went into very skeptical. I did not like the trailers for this show. I didn't get it, that it felt like we're doing Game of Thrones, but with kind of that quippy Marvel humor of just people like throwing a little line at the end, that it just felt weird to do that with Game of Thrones. And it took me a few episodes to fully kind of acclimate to the vibe of the show. But once I did, the word that came to mind is a word that I never thought I would use to describe something in the world of Game of Thrones that is true to the world of Game of Thrones. I thought a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms was charming, which is not a very Game of Thrones word to describe Game of Thrones. But they find a way to give us these two lead characters that just have such a charming friendship to them. It's kind of a classic formula, the gentle giant with the partnered up with the much smaller person that is far more intelligent. And they just have a fun dynamic to them. When you get the mid-season reveal of who Egg really is, that's really when the show kind of came together for me. And it has the brutality and the harshness of the world of Game of Thrones, but it also has a sweetness and a wholesomeness to it that you don't get a lot of in Game of Thrones, in particular with our knight here, who is so actually believes in the code of being a knight. He's an actually honorable person that, as much as he's lived in this world, doesn't realize how jaded everyone else is and how cynical and how they've abandoned honor. And there's just something refreshing about someone that does what's right in such a bleak world. And combined with the other elements, like somehow they found a way to do this. HBO has been putting out premium television since the 90s, and once again they show they're the masters of it. This is one of these 6-episode seasons with episodes that are only 30 to 40 minutes long, so the whole runtime of the season is only like 3.5, 4 hours long. Something that Disney Plus has been doing for 5-6 years now, and we've been criticizing them for it because it doesn't work. They don't know how to pace it right. HBO show they're still the masters of premium television. They did a 6-episode season that felt like that was the right length for the amount of story they had. It does the flashbacks, but it does all the same stuff Disney Plus shows have done, but right, paced properly and satisfying by the time you get to it. But coming in at number 1, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. This is another movie that I watched at Fantastic Fest last September. This was actually a secret screening that they hadn't put out a trailer for this movie prior to us watching it. And literally the day that it played it as a secret screening, they put out like the first promo image and description of the plot. So I went into this movie knowing almost nothing about it except Gore Verbinski and time travel AI apocalypse. The version of the synopsis that if you just read this one quick synopsis, it sounds exactly like The Terminator. Though this movie is in practice nothing like The Terminator. It is kind of this wild satire that is, of course, tackling AI. It manages to have a subplot about school shootings that absolutely should not work because it's dark comedy about school shootings, but it does. It commits to the bit, it commits to the satire and the commentary, and therefore it's able to be really funny while being really insightful. It has Gore Verbinski's eye of just these, he has, is able to do the, like incredible shots. There's moments in this that just are like mythological in the way they play out while being this sci-fi wacky adventure. And it's that merging of social commentary, quirky, weird stuff, mythology, and mythological iconic imagery merged together just to be like something really special and different. Like it's not a movie that you can easily put into a box. It's not easily defined. And that's what I loved about it. In particular, Fantastic Fest is a film festival that's meant to be a little bit weird and quirky. This was the perfect movie to be a secret screening at Fantastic Fest. So one of my favorite theatrical experiences of last year, but the movie actually finally released February of 2026. So it comes in at number 1. Be sure to join me down below in the comments section. Let me know your ranking of the new movies and TV seasons that you watched in February. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and